Children, today we are going to learn about sexual reproduction in flowering plant. Remember, I am mentioning sexual reproduction in flowering plant. So what is most important over here is the reproduction which is taking place in flower. And in flower, what type of reproduction will happen? We have studied about asexual reproduction. So here it is sexual reproduction. So how can we define flower? So you can define flower as it is modified shoot for the purpose of sexual reproduction. Okay. So before we start how this reproduction takes place, we need to know what are different parts or what is the structure of flower. Okay. So here this diagram is actually showing you typical floral structure, which includes stalk of the flower. The stalk of the flower is also called pedicel, and the swollen tip or swollen portion of this flower is called receptacle or thalamus. Okay. This thalamus or receptacle is going to hold entire part of the flower, or you can say all the whorls of the flower. If we start from outermost whorl or layer, so here outermost layer is composed of calyx. Remember, one unit of calyx is called sepal. One unit of calyx is called sepal. Since this sepal is green in color, it is also able to perform photosynthesis. But if we see main function of this sepal, it is protecting this floral bud, or you can say essential whorl of the flower during bud condition. So this calyx or sepal is giving protection to other parts of the flower. After that, when we move to this colored part, which is called petal, So this petal, collectively it is making corolla. What is the function of this petal? It is also giving protection to this essential whorls of the flower. But if we talk about its main function, so here these petals are attracting insects for the purpose of pollination. Its main function is attraction, because you can see it is quite large, showy. Okay, so this is attracting insects. After that, when we are coming to the next whorl of the flower is this, which is nothing but the stamen. Stamen is composed of the stalk. This is the stalk of the stamen. We call it filament. Okay, understood? So here stalk of this stamen is called filament, which is giving proper position to this anther. Now what is anther? So this anther is a bag-like or sac-like structure which bears this minute pollen grains. You can see these minute pollen grains are present inside the anther. Okay. This pollen grain carries male gamete, or you can say this male gamete also has another name called microspores. Okay. Now female reproductive part, we call it pistil. Here this pistil has different part. The uppermost part you see here, which is providing a platform or stage for pollen grain to come and rest on this. Okay, so here you need to understand this stigma which is there is providing platform to whom? To this pollen grains to come and land on this stigma. Now this is the slender tube which is called style. This is called style. After that, at the bottom of this pistil, you will find the swollen part, which is nothing but the ovary. This ovary bears ovules. You can see these are the ovules. We will see one by one what will be future of this ovule or this ovary. Okay, that happens after fertilization. After fertilization, this ovule will become seed and ovary will become fruit. So, with this we can define what is fruit. So, fruit is fertilized ovary, and what is seed? It is fertilized ovule. Okay? So, this was about parts of the flower. Yeah. Now, we will talk about pollination. Why do pollination is required? So, as I said, this pollen grains have male gamete, and this ovary has female gamete in this ovule. So now this ovule has to be fertilized, and this fertilization takes place when this pollen grain is going to land on this. Now this is called pollination. We can define pollination as it is transfer of pollen grain from anther to the stigma. Now this pollination is of different type. It can be self-pollination or it can be cross-pollination. So now what do you mean by self-pollination? First we will discuss that. So you see here, when flower is bisexual, bisexual flower means which has male and female reproductive organs or parts. So here you see this pollen grain is transferring from the anther of the same flower to the stigma of same flower. Such type of pollination is said to be self-pollination. It may happen on its own or it may happen by certain agents of pollination. Okay, so children, now based on agents of pollination, we have different types of flowers. Okay, so here you need to understand flowers which are attracted by insects or certain animals. They are attractive, they have large colored petal, they have fragrance, they have nectars or nectary gland which is attracting insect. But these are for biotic agents. Biotic means living organisms which is doing pollination. But there are some flowers which are dependent on abiotic vectors or agents of pollination. That is air, or you can say wind and water. So they don't have to attract any insects. So they are not colored. They do not have fragrance. They do not have nectaries. Okay? Instead, what they have certain mechanism, like their stamen will have a stalk which is quite weak, so that it can shake well in wind current. Apart from this, if you see this stigma, so this stigma is feathery. It is feathery stigma. Why is this feathery? Because whenever pollen grains are coming, it must have opportunity to catch that. Okay? So this is the wind pollinated flower. So if you are asked differences between insect pollinated and wind pollinated flower, you can write this. Apart from this, their pollen grain. Here, this pollen grain in insect pollinated flower, it has to attach or stick to the insect. So it must have, suppose if this is the pollen grain from insect pollinated flower, so it will have presence of spines so that it can attach. It is quite large. It is sticky. It is less in number because chance of pollination is more over here. But if you talk about wind pollinated flowers, so they are smooth walled. They are minute and they are abundant in number, so that at least one can reach to this stigma and it can fertilize it. Okay, so here this is cross-pollination. What do you mean by cross-pollination? Again, I explain. If you have, suppose this is one plant, this is another plant. So if pollen grain transfer from one flower to another flower belonging to different plant, so this is the cross-pollination. So in wind pollinated flower also, suppose one flower is shaking its pollen grain, and that pollen grain is carried away by wind and it is fertilizing the next plant. Same way here in insect pollinated flower. Insect carries this pollen grain and it is carrying it to different flower. So this is cross pollination. Cross pollination, why I am highlighting more? Because it has many advantages. Cross pollination brings variation. Otherwise, if it is self pollination or asexual reproduction, it is just clone of the parent. Whatever disease or whatever genetic information is there, it is going to be same in the offspring also. Understood, children? So here cross pollination has greater advantage in terms of bringing variation, which is actually needed for evolution also. It is providing the better adaptive features for the surrounding environment. But if it is self-pollination, genetic makeup is going to remain same and plant will be just similar to its parent. Okay? So children, today we discuss about pollination. In next class, we will be discussing about fertilization. Okay?